Hi everyone. By the way, look at this lighting. The sun is like crazy bright. I'm like sitting right in front of the mirrors over here, or the windows over at Anytime Fitness, because that's where we're located. For those of you that don't know, I've got a little bit of gym space to kind of work with here, which is fantastic. So you just have to don't mind the lighting where I look like it's just crazy bright. We're gonna kind of roll with it today. I wanted to hop online because a lot of people are obviously working from home. And we've noticed that a lot more people are having back pain than ever. And I wanted to just give you guys some simple solutions, some things to think about that you guys can do to help minimize your back pain. Wanted to use this as an opportunity as well. If anyone has any questions specifically about setups and ergonomics, this is a great time to ask us, okay? So the first thing is, the reality, you don't need a huge fancy chair. Okay, I'm going to pull the screen down so you can see me a little bit better. One of the biggest things that I want you guys to take away from this is the angle at which you're sitting. It's actually not a good thing to sit up really tall, okay? You don't need to sit up really tall. That's not necessarily good posture when you're working at home. I think that's really important because I can't tell you how many times people come to me, they're having back pain when working from home, and they think they have the best posture, right? Because when I ask them, show me what your posture looks like, they do this. And I go, well, what happens when you get tired? Well, they go, I start to squint, I get really interested in my work, I lean forwards like this. When you lean forwards in this type of position, this is the most strain you could have possible on your low back. So when you're sitting and you lean forwards, again, that's the most pressure you can have, particularly in your discs, possible. So instead, what I'm going to suggest, and the whole title of this is saying you don't need a whole expensive ergonomic chair. So how do you work with it? You could have just a regular chair. Get a pillow, it could be a hoodie, it could be a rolled up, whatever. And I want you to put it in the middle part of the chair, okay? It doesn't need to be on the lower part. You want that support to come right through the mid part of your back, okay? That's really important for you guys to understand. The support should come through the thoracic spine. So what I'm gonna actually do, I'm gonna pull up an anatomy app here because I want to show you guys exactly what part of the spine we're looking at, which muscles get tight, so that you guys can save your low backs, because that's really what we're talking about here. You can have neck pain, of course, from the wrong type of posture, but it's really the low back and the compression that we're trying to avoid. You might see that you could buy on Amazon, there are lumbar rolls, there are, so many new things and products specifically titled lumbar in it. But the reality is you're trying to prevent the low back from having too much of an arch, okay? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna see if I can switch this out here, switch this into my anatomy app. Yeah, there we go. You guys see that all right? Here we go, perfect. So what we're looking for is to prevent excessive extension through the lumbar spine. I'm going to try to draw on this. I hope this works. You guys can let me know in the comments if you're able to see this or not. I'm not sure if you guys are able to see that or not. All right, I'm trying to draw on it, but what I want to point out is most people put too much extension. We'll try it like this. They'll draw it right. They'll have too much pressure right the lower part of the spine, okay? And those muscles can get really tight. Let me go ahead and pull that up. So you've got a lot of the erectors and some of the even smaller muscles like the multifidus that sit back here. And most people complain of that pain right. You guys able to see my mouse cursor? Just let me know, by the way, in the comments here as you're going through it. So instead, it's going to be more in this middle part where you want to have that support, okay? Hopefully I've pounded that in and you guys are starting to make sense with that. Let me go back to my view here. Okay, awesome. So that's step number one. The other thing that I want to talk about is how often are you sitting versus standing, okay? you can actually turn it into a good thing when you're working it from at home, because you probably have a little bit more liberty and flexibility and freedom to get up more. So I'd suggest get up at least every hour, just walk around. I'm going to show you a few stretches that you could do once an hour, all right? But you could also, it depends, right? So depends on your work involvement, but you might be able to get up a little bit more than that. But just the sake of changing positions can really be a helpful thing for you guys, okay? I'm just checking the comments. If you guys are just hopping online, whether it's Facebook or YouTube, just feel free to comment below. I want you guys to be able to ask any questions that you need here. I'll try to keep an eye on that, okay? Okay, so also too, when you guys are standing, it's important that you have the correct standing posture and position. So when you move from sitting to standing desks are getting a lot more popular. Some people that we've worked with are even using like their desk or whatever else they have to stand to put the computer on. But when you stand, it's really important that you don't lean to one side. So if you're typing, make sure you're not leaning to one side and just hanging in that position. That can be almost just as harmful, or if not worse, than a really good seated position. I'll also tell you what's really handy. You guys can kind of rig something up if you need to, but get like an 8-inch something. It could just be like a little box or something that's supportive, and go ahead and just prop one foot on that 8-inch, and then just make sure you don't lean, okay? That's actually a good way of offloading the spine while still standing and kind of focusing on one leg to work at a time, which can actually be beneficial. But as you could hopefully you guys see, you guys can let me know in the comments if you're able to see this all right. But when you stand, it's this leaning where you're kind of just sitting down and back and hanging on your pelvis and your hips. So when you lean to one side, my suggestion would be to kind of squeeze your glutes a little bit, squeeze your core, and don't just let your ligaments and kind of structural support be your only thing, because that's another scenario that can cause some discomfort and a lot of pain, okay? All right, hopefully we're doing good so far. Now I also wanted to walk into a few stretches that you guys could try out at home when you're having those rest breaks, all right? So the first one, I'm gonna take a step back and you guys can let me know if you're able to hear me all right. So one way to kind of just loosen up the back, get into your hands and knees. We're gonna go into a child's pose-like position. I'm gonna rock back. So I'm trying to get my butt to go all the way towards my heels. I'm trying to sink my chest all the way to the ground. And what's really nice about that one is that my low back is actually in a decompressive state, and we're getting a really nice stretch to the thoracic spine and even shoulders. Some of the benefit of working at home is just you have more freedom of motion. I want you guys to really take advantage of that and try out some stretches and just moving and getting up more often to keep the pain down. I feel like people aren't socially, like, as we'll call it, impaired, because maybe they're thinking, oh, Joe sees me doing a stretch, or, you know, you kind of get into some of those funny spaces when you're at work, but you don't necessarily have that at home. So people could turn this into a positive where they're actually moving more, standing up more freely, still getting the work done, of course. I'm not trying to detract anyone from getting their work done. We have enough distractions already when we're at home compared to at work, but it does potentially allow the freedom of movement more. So that child's pose stretch is the first one that I wanted to walk you guys through. The second one is actually called a pretzel stretch, which sounds like it's almost harmful, but it's really good to get some spacing and rotation. It's almost like you're an idea of like a self-mobilization like movement to the spine. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys that one. So you're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna cross my top leg up and over. I'm gonna take my bottom leg and rotate like this. Give you guys a different angle on that. So again, I'm crossing this leg up and over, taking this leg, grabbing my ankle, pulling it down and back, and rotating. I like to do a deep breath in, exhale and rotate. wonderful. I'm gonna do one more. All right. Let's go ahead and do both sides. You're gonna want to make sure that you do both sides with this. You might find that one side is much tighter than the other. That's gonna be important. That's gonna be important information for you to be aware of, because you might be in your everyday life biasing a rotation over the other. Case in point, if I'm sitting at my desk all the time, let's say your typical job, you've got all this stuff to your right, your body's smart, it'll adapt to that. So let's say all your stuff is always here. Heck, let's say first thing in the morning, your coffee filter or whatever, it's always to the right. But your body's kind of gradually getting used to right rotation at that point. The muscles are going to be reflective of that, and your obliques will be as well. So they're going to be kind of pulling on that spine, which can create tension and shear force on it, which can overall add up to kind of a micro accumulation and eventually reach that threshold where you've got pain. So going into left rotation in that case can be really therapeutic to the spine and the muscles. In which case, so I just stretched into right rotation. I'm not sure if you caught that. So this time I'm going to go into left rotation. You in this case would kind of see, am I tighter on that side? And in that case, probably yes, you're going to want to stretch more. But let's go ahead and give it a go. So I'll cross this leg, my top leg, up and over. Grab that here. I'm going to reach and try to grab my shin, my lower shin, maybe just, my ankle or so. And then I'm going to roll back and try to get my left shoulder touch the ground. I'm not sure if you guys can tell, but I am tighter, so maybe I fit that scenario. So my left rotation is a little bit tighter, but your hips are obviously involved in this too, right? So you can't negate the effect that your hips are having on your low back. Oh man, that feels good. If you guys have any questions on those two stretches, just let me know. And there was one more stretch that I wanted to show you guys here too. Okay, so we've covered the child's pose, we've covered the pretzel, and I want to go into this third and final stretch. Okay, so this time, you're going to just keep this leg straight, okay? You're going to bring this arm up and just rotate up and away. Okay, it's a slightly different move. You'll notice some similarities, but some differences with that as well. They just give you a different angle. So this leg's going to come up and over. This arm up and back. And what you're noticing with that is that you're getting into the thoracic spine a little bit more. The top leg is on stretch, so that's going to change the name of the game a little bit too. What the heck, I'll go ahead and show you one more stretch. I was thinking about this. The thoracic spine is such a key area to help assist and offload really both the neck and the low back. So let me just go ahead and give you a bonus stretch here. We'll go ahead and do that. So this one's great. So I'm going to get you on your hands and knees. And I'm going to swing through. Try to get my right shoulder to contact the ground, all right? You can let this elbow bend here, kind of reaching through, okay? I think you'll get a better view here. Yeah, there you go. And then you could even come all the way up. Alright, I'll switch sides so you can see what that looks like. So much tighter that side. Feels good. Okay. Alright. So in summary, how to minimize pain when you're at home. I think you can move a lot more frequently than you could at work. I like to move at least once an hour, even if it's just for 5 minutes or so. That can be really good. Try to alternate sitting from standing and not just hanging in one position. Particularly when you're sitting, avoid leaning forward or sitting too upright. You want to lean back, you want to have support, ideally a pillow, a lumbar roll, but put it in the middle part of your back. When you do go into a standing position, make sure you don't lean all the way on one side to the other. You should almost always have a little bit of a glute and core control with it, and you shouldn't just be dumping into your back or just excessively sliding and rolling into your back. And then try some of those stretches that I've just showed you there. A couple are specific from the low back, but they can also help assist the thoracic spine as well, which is the middle part of your back, which can offload the neck and the low back. And I think with that recipe, you don't necessarily have to have a really expensive ergonomic chair. You can kind of get away with having even just an everyday chair. But more importantly is the trunk position, the postures you're in, how long you're in those positions, and the compensations you can have in each one of those positions, such as sitting, such as standing, etc. So try those tips out. If you have any questions or you catch this later, just comment below. I'll be happy to get to you. We are currently offering $49 low back consultations, so just type interested below if that's something you'd like to look into, and we could kind of examine how to help you stay pain-free or to help mitigate the pain in your low back, especially in this kind of awkward, uncertain time where you're at home. And heck, some of our clients are kind of being moved to full-time at home, so this might be a bigger deal than we think it is moving down the road. So thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day.